She turned into an agronomist. She's joining us all the way from Zambia. Thank you so much for making the time, Dr. Kaunda. But of course, right here in studio, I'm also having very interesting panelists. Like I mentioned, we have Sangwa Sifa. She's a youth agropreneur. You've been very active even on the social media platforms, advocating for young people, especially women and girls, to be in this particular field. Thank you so much for making the time.
Welcome. Also
with us is none other than Dr. Dina Borus, the acting country manager, International Potato Center, Rwanda. You came with a lot of potatoes. Thank you very much. Tomorrow's breakfast is sorted. Thank you for joining us on the show.
Thank you.
Right. I'm sure if you've been checking the promotional material, the poster, you saw we had Kim Patoli, who's the CEO of Youth ICT Council from South Africa. She'll not be joining us tonight. She's had a bit of complications, but we're wishing her all the best in terms of recovery. But she'll be happy to follow this particular conversation from whatever part of the world that she is. Thank you very much, all of you, for joining us. I want to start off with Sangwa Sifa, because you've been contributing in one way or another. We've been seeing beautiful pictures, amazing photos of your farm and where you work as an agripreneur yourself. When we talk about the status of food security on the continent, and you hear about these numbers, over 733 million, facing starvation, and the work that you do. How does this make you feel, and what do you want the rest of us to do, in order to actually deal with this particular situation?
So everyone should be sad.
Everyone should be sad.
Yeah, because of this number.
Yeah.
It's a huge number, and it requires us to make sure that we actually reduce the number to zero.
Yeah.
Maybe we can reach to zero hunger. So when I see this number, and I know that actually I become an agriculture influencer so that I can change the narrative about agriculture, so I can see the agricultural transformation I wish to see.
Yeah.
So when I hear this number, it's a call to me to be like, Sifa, you have to do something. You have to post a lot. You have to go on the field. You have to be that voice of change, so that everyone can leverage into agriculture, and then we'll be able to feed ourselves. Because I think the main reason is that many people are not into agriculture, and the other thing is we don't have this knowledge and skills to at least utilize the land we have. We still have land that is bare, that doesn't have crops on it. But if we utilize it fully and efficiently, maybe we can reduce this number. Right.
So few people are actually into agribusiness, and then also the underutilization of land. And you're saying that we need to do a lot more for us to be able to reduce this particular number to zero. Dr. Dina, I mean, from where you sit within the work that you do, what does this number make you feel? Is it just a statistic? How do we make sure that it doesn't just end up into just being, yes, another statistics out of the UN?
Thank you very much. I think the numbers really worries me. One, as a mother, and I think of that child really going without food, how painful it is. But it also gives me, like, as a challenge, as a scientist, of what I need to do as a scientist to bring in technologies, or to come up with technologies together with other scientists to be able to meet the demand for food. But it's not only just the demand, but also making sure that food is accessible, that food is available, that food is safe, and that food reaches the last mile, and that whoever needs that food finds it when it's nutritious and safe. So as a scientist and working at International Potato Center, we basically focus on research for development, and we look at what is it that we need to do? What demand should we answer? And I think the SDG number 2 is talking about everybody really having food. So we're looking at everybody. Nobody should go and sleep without food. When the rest of us could be eating 4 meals and somebody may not have, and therefore there is need also of just increasing productivity, and that's technology. There is need for distribution, making sure that food arrives when it is fresh, when it's good, and that requires technology.
Yeah.
There is the need for preparing that food just to make sure it's nutritious and not just cooking and feeding the family, but that actually after, once you put on the table, it is nutritious.
Yeah.
But also we're looking at technology of no wastage. And fortunately, out of the 733 million that you've mentioned,
yeah,
a good number is in Africa, which is really sad.
Yeah.
And therefore, we need to embrace the technology.
Yeah.
This week on Monday and Tuesday, I was in the National Seed Congress,
Yes.
and I think one thing that came clear is that agriculture is science, and science is agriculture.
Right. We'll be coming back to probe more about that, because I like the fact that you mentioned it's not just about us having the food, but we need to have nutritious food. And I want to bring in Tamara. Tamara, I've had Sifa talk about the fact that fewer people are within the agribusiness space, and she also speaks about the aspect of few of us actually utilizing land in a proper way. But I want to take you back to 5 years ago, where you actually made a very interesting submission. And I want to understand from 5 years since then to today, what has changed. Let's just take a look at this particular video. Just stay with us, and then we'll come back to probe more about this statement that you made 5 years ago. Let's take a look.
Copy by, if you can have the camera, this is done by FYL. If you show this to a young person, a young woman like me, and say go into agriculture, they're going to go into it? Definitely not. I told the World Bank the same thing. If you want to make agriculture attractive, if you want to make it sexy, start by publishing it. Get a young person who's attractive, put them on this picture. I said this in Harare last year to say, can we try to make agriculture sexy? This organization, the UN, the FOA, whoever is involved in agriculture sector, the advertising, whoever you are, make agriculture sexy. This is the beginning point of making it attractive to the young people.
Right.
If you, the organizers, the frontiers, the people who are supposed to lead us are putting such pictures, what are you sending to a person, a young person from the village? You pick this picture and like, oh, this is what we're living. But if they see a young person here, very attractive like me, and you put me here, even the young men in the village, they'll be like, wow, I want to be like her. I mean, where am I going to find this woman? Let me join agriculture. I mean, this is practical. That's what we need to be talking about. So please, my request is that next time we're going to have such a conference, whatever is coming up, you can look for me on Facebook, Tamara Happy Face Kaunda. Put my picture there and say she's a farmer. And a medical doctor, yeah. Well, most people, they like to see me. Oh, don't look at like she's farming. She's a doctor. No, I want to be called a farmer. Right. Because the problem we have in Africa is hunger. We don't need drugs. I work in a hospital, and I can guarantee you 80% of the diseases why we're losing young people is because of poverty. So why then can't we give them the nutrition they need instead of the drugs? That's my switching from medicine to agriculture. So that's what we should be looking at. Another thing, she's from Singapore, I'm from Zambia. The borrowing rate in Zambia is about 35% to 40%. You can say, yes, I don't have, I don't want to go to the bank or whatever. No, I've tried going there. But why should I to make such a suicidal decision to go and borrow at a 40% rate? It's impossible. I want to go to the government to borrow. They say, no, you need to work for the government for 2 years. But I need the project running. I've got people following me. They need to come to the farm and see what I'm doing. So funding, we're not looking for charity. Like, I was quite offended by the doctor lady who said, no, farming is not a charity. Yes, we're not looking for charity. But if you can give me $10,000 at a rate of maybe 5%, 2%, like the Chinese come, they come with a lower percentage, and they come and invest here and they beat us. I cannot compete with her even if she came to Zambia, because she borrowed maybe from Singapore at a lower rate. But look at me in Zambia, 40%, that's suicide.
Right.
So we can talk and talk and talk, but let's create an enabling environment for the African youth. because we can't have so much vast land, yet we are languishing in poverty. Netherlands cannot export to Africa if they don't feed their own people. Yes, I'm happy the young people are exporting, but why are we leaving our people? Why are they dying? African graves are the richest because we've lost so many young people to poverty and hunger. So we need to really critically look at agriculture as the oxygen for economical in Africa. It should not be a backbone. I can break my backbone today and I can live on. But if I don't have oxygen, I can't live on. So agriculture should be the oxygen of the economy in Africa. Thank you.
Sentiments taken into account, what can you report back in terms of the impact of this very loaded message that you delivered 5 years ago?
Actually, it was quite impactful, and up to now, I'm receiving feedback from, around the world, young people saying this is this is what we need. Because like I mentioned, the picture of agriculture has really been, very bad. I grew up in the rural area myself, and, we're taught when in class, like if you don't perform well, you're going to become a farmer. So already you grow up thinking farming is bad. Mm-hmm. So this has been, the picture that has been painted has been quite bad. It's not just in Zambia, it's everywhere in Africa. You just think farming is for the aged, the old, those who don't have anything to do. So now, if you're looking at something that is not attractive, you're looking at something that young people won't flow to. And if you don't have energetic people participating in that particular sector, it means you're not going to have it at full production. So if we're going to say we're going to produce food at a higher, rate, we need to involve the young people for them to be producing more, marketing more. Remember, agriculture is a food chain. There's production, there's advertising, there's marketing, there's also transportation. So if we're going to involve these young people, then it means the technology is going to be included in the agriculture food chain. So for me, that's still my plea that we have to make it sexy. We must make it attractive for more young people to come through. We produce. The more we produce, the more we export. Right.
I like that. Before I let you go or bring in the other panelists, I want to just understand, because we know that young people are the most tech savvy based on what we've seen. Even perception says the same, agrees with this particular notion. Do you feel then that if we are going to leverage on technology, then we're going to be able to have more young people maybe contributing in one way or another? And in which of the 40 value chains in agribusiness space do you see young people coming in and technology playing a key role?
Well, I see them in every particular, because every particular part of the chain. One, production. If I'm producing and I have full information, I'm going to produce quality food, and I'm going to use sustainable methods for me to produce the food because I have the information at their fingertips. And then if I'm going to transport, I'm going to have another person is going to be, involved in transporting. They're going to be, there's someone who's producing at ABC farm, so I need to go and pick up this order, and then they'll be paid to go and deliver the food. Okay, we're going to have, let's say, maybe aggregation where food is stored in, refrigerated warehouses, whatever. Another young person owns that, and they're going to say, I have a warehouse where I can aggregate your food and then bring it here, then when it's time, then we can export. Yeah. Then we have, people don't know about this product, they're going to advertise, this company XY is producing this, you can find this product, this, and this, that the people are able to know about the product.
Yeah.
So the value chain of agriculture, once we involve young people, straight from until the food, until the plate. If young people are involved, we're going to see that food will be produced more at safer ways and better ways of transportation, and you have fresh food on the table.
Yeah.
So for me, I still insist that young, fresh, energetic people in agriculture, people fight this enemy called poverty.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Tamara. Just stay with us, please. We'll be able to bring you back to make some more interventions. Dr. Dina, I want to bring you here because, technology also goes beyond just, the social media or pushing through influencing, like the great work that CIFA is doing. But there's also the aspect of, research. But we've also seen the biotechnology taking a center stage in trying to fix the food insecurity issue. Scientists are saying, biotech will be among the solutions to rolling back food insecurity. And we're talking about now genetically modified foods. But this has also not been received well in certain quarters. I want you to just speak to us from, a scientific perspective on what could be, holding back the use of such technology, and how can we leverage on it and pick the good from what people probably are perceiving as the bad from the use of genes in amplifying or creating pest-resistant, weather-resistant, crop varieties to sustain us in our food delivery.
Thank you very much. So genetic engineering is basically biotechnology,
yes.
And I think those of us who went to science may have definitely learned about biotechnology.
Yeah.
And in biotechnology, we use it for many, many ways, whether it's in the TC lab, whether it's in medical practicing or in pharmacy, and many other ways we use biotechnology. So genetic engineering is just a quicker way, a faster way of coming up with developing varieties, and I think here we are looking at varieties that are climate resilient. We all feel, the pain of climate change, and so we're looking at those varieties that are climate resilient, whether they're drought tolerant or heat tolerant. We are looking at varieties with the climate change. Usually we have what they call this increase in disease prevalence, and so we also looking at those varieties that are resistant to diseases. And allow me to give an example of potato,
yes.
Where we are looking at biotech potato, which is resistant to late blight. Now, late blight, for your information, is the most costful, the most costing inputs in potato, and it's global. You have to spray with fungicides, and sometimes a research we did somewhere shows that farmers spray up to 13 times, even up to 15 times.
Yeah.
Now, that spray has many effects.
Yeah.
Definitely, it's taking a lot of money. Secondly, it's taking a lot of time. Third, it's got a health issues
impact, yeah.
With the person that is spraying. And remember, particularly in Africa, we are not using the personal PPEs,
yes.
protective. So you can imagine the effect. But more so, those chemicals are ending in our water ecosystem. So the water we drink, we really don't know what it has. And so we are looking at genetically modified potato that you are not going to spray at all, and you still have the same variety that you've been having, still tasting as it is.
Yeah.
So we are looking at a situation where we want to increase the yield, we want to reduce the cost, we want to have quality, but we want to look at nutrition. And so some of the crops that are highly nutritious is as a result of genetic engineering. Now, we do have conventional breeding, which we've been using for years, but it takes a very long time.
Yes, over 16 years, yeah?
Yes, and you've just clearly said the population is increasing.
Yeah.
And that means if we don't do something, then the population of people going without food is going to increase. We want to reduce.
Right.
So we have to embrace technology, including genetic engineering.
Genetic engineering. Sifa, what's the biggest stumbling block in incorporation of technology within the agri-food system, because one of them is cultural beliefs, is misinformation. It's played a very big role in making people not to accept some of these interventions around tech, like Dr. Dina says. What else do you think is holding back the full throttle use of technology within the space that you thrive in?
I don't think that's only a cultural belief and misinformation. There is many facts that is behind. First of all, in Africa, if I may say, we don't have this technology as we may have, because there are few institutions that is teaching agriculture. As agriculture, there are few people who are pursuing agriculture as a career. There are people who are into agriculture now. Most of them, like 80%, are into subsistence agriculture, which is so painful. And everyone, if we just asked me about the number, if you can get a chance of getting that technology and you have access to finance, because that is the other issue. If you have this technology and you don't have money, you cannot have it.
You can't scale up.
But we have some technologies or some best practices that uses with few money, with not that much money, but we don't have that access to technology where more people can learn. I'm very lucky that I studied at LICA, where we got experiential learning education, where we were able to embrace the technologies that was around. But that inspired me to share online, because I knew that Rwandan can see me driving a tractor and they'll be like, oh, we can even use cars. They were asking me, is that a car that is that is planting a seed? So if we have access to technology, so that we can know that if we need more production, we can use this technology to improve. If that farmers who are into subsistence are empowered into capacity building, then they know what to do. They can make their land more productive and they can be profitable. But we are still struggling at every corner in this Africa and in Rwanda, because some technologies are there, but people are not using them.
Because of the lack of skills?
Yeah, because there's lack of skills, lack of finance, and lack of access to them. You might find somewhere where there is tractors, where there is those improved seeds, but they are kept there. They need someone to come and say, hi, I need to rent this tractor, but it's expensive.
It's expensive.
So, there is a lot to explore. And we need to accelerate in everything. If we want this narrative to change about agriculture, if we want more people to join agriculture or to empower Africa to be food secure, we need to make sure that the technology is accessible to everyone who needs it into agribusiness. As Tamara said, if the technology is here, more young people will join. And like to say in Rwanda, the largest percentage of Rwandan population is youth. So if youth joins and they find themselves that they are going to do the same thing their parents are doing, they will not be motivated, to be honest. But if you see the other image of agriculture in the other angle, and you know that I'm going to study agriculture and then come and change my village. Only you start from the village and then you go up to the country. So if you get that motivation that agriculture is tech-based mostly, we will be able to feed ourselves.
We'll be able to feed ourselves. Dr. Tamara, I want to bring you in. I like the fact that, Sifa speaks passionately about this, because she's been doing this. She's a young person herself, and she knows where the shoe is pinching in that particular sense. Dr. Tamara, I'm going back again to your submission 5 years ago when we were at that particular forum. You said agriculture should not be the backbone. It should not be seen as the backbone of our economies. You can break your back, but if it is the oxygen and you don't have that oxygen, you will not live, as opposed to you not having a backbone. Listening to the submission that we've just had from CFI, especially on the access to finance, you mentioned the suicidal, what do we call it, interest rates, 40% that you just submitted there. Do you feel that the sound of the drums of young people saying, look, we need support here in terms of access to finance, access to these technologies, is this sound being amplified enough? Are those supposed to hear? Are they hearing this? And if they are not, please make them hear tonight. Just say something, and let's hope they can hear it.
With the incoming of young people, like I say, it's for us to, put financing. Number one, before you can go anywhere else, for you to farm, you need land. And mostly what we're talking about, how we can involve women in agriculture. Right now, even as we are speaking here, maybe, Rwanda or Zambia, they've made progress where a woman can own land. We still have about 25 countries out of the 107 who have not yet embraced that women can own land. So also in Africa, we still have countries that don't allow women to own land. Because of certain customs, and you find that the woman cannot own land by being married to someone, and when the husband dies, she looks at that property, that land, that she can't come, and the children will be sent into poverty. Another thing is, in case of we can't run away from the issue of wars right around land and property. You find that, because most women in Africa are at home taking care of the children, take care of their, house chores. So when they come separate, you find that the woman is disadvantaged. Say, no, you need to break your activities in end money. The land is grabbing her, and it becomes very difficult. Coming to financing, it's still very difficult even up to now for young people to access financing. We are just talking day in, day out. Young people are not accessing financing because they don't have the collateral that they need to present to the bank. You can have a young person that is motivated.
Oh, Tamara. Technology is now failing us. We really want to hear your submissions, but our tech team is able enough. I'm sure they're going to work on that and be able to bring back Dr. Tamara for us. Let me come back here in studio, but also bring in our viewers who are watching us from far and wide. I'm just going to read some comments and then I'll come to you, Dr. Dina. Pacific on our YouTube live stream is saying, how can we ensure that advanced agricultural technologies are accessible and affordable for small-scale farmers who make up a significant portion of Africa's agricultural sector? I think this is tapping directly into what Sifa just mentioned. They're not available, and if they're available, it's very expensive. He also comes to say, what specific technological innovations do you believe have the greatest potential to transform agriculture in Africa? Let's look for solutions. If we were to look for the solution for this question on the making the agricultural technologies accessible in an affordable way, what would you want to see? What would you want to tell those who are in positions of power, in position of authority, private sector players? What is it that you think they need to do to be able to make sure that these technological advancements are accessible, but also they're accessible at an affordable rate? I want to start with you, Dr. Dina. Then we'll go back to Dr. Tamara and Sifa.
Thank you very much. So, yes, technologies can be available, but if I can't access them, I can't afford them, then there's nothing they can do. And yet, I always say that at the end of the day, everyone in the whole world, we 7 billion, have eaten at least one meal. We may not have gone to see a doctor, we may not have gone to see somewhere else, but we must have eaten the food. And so, it's about the policymakers really giving priority to agriculture, because it's really what everybody needs at the end of the day, at the end of the 12 hours or 24 hours. So to make it then available, we need that conducive environment, that environment that enables the private sector. So the private sector play a key role in really ensuring technologies are upscale, or they are scale to an extent that a community of farmers or the need can be able to access. Now, when you have the private sector, they can produce it locally, they can fabricate some of these technologies, they can make it accessible. The private sector can reach every corner, what we call the last mile. So the private sector is so important. So public-private partnership becomes very, very important. But then nothing takes place without money. We need the dollars. So that money needs to be made available to the private sector or anyone along the chain, along the value chain. that person can get a seat, and the private sector probably can be able to avail what they are required, whether it is the technology itself, and I think she talked about even the tractor, which we can have a tractor that can still work in smallholder or mechanization.
Yeah.
We're talking about irrigation, we're talking about even the packaging, even the labeling, the transport and all that. It all requires the money. So having access to the loans or having access to support to the people so that then they can be able to access this. The private sector or the producer can produce in large scale. We always talk about economy of scale. So one thing that is also important is for the users or the consumers to be aware. If they are aware, if they learn by seeing, if they're able to see, and I like the social media, it's really making everyone see. Even the old generation, they're able to see what is happening. So if I can learn by seeing, then I'll be able to look, so where is it? And then I'm able to get and I'm able to afford because the other part of the policy makers made it possible for this private sector to be able to see. Yeah. And what's the other very, very important is communication, really communication. Being able to hear what is it that I can do. And sometimes that communication could also be a testimony of someone else like Tamara or, Asif, that we can have the young people doing very well. I come from Kenya and we do have very excellent youth that are doing very well actually in agriculture. And sometimes they come with technologies that we've never even known, they can go so far. So from our end as a scientist at International Potato Center, for us, we look at developing technology in terms of varieties. Varieties that are more nutritious, varieties that can mature very fast, varieties that are drought or resistant to diseases. And what we do to be able to reach the users or the farmers is we work with the National Agricultural System, NAS, what you call NAS. And in the case of Rwanda, we work so much with RAP, just to make sure. And RAP now produces what you call the starter material, and then they work with the partner, the producers. So there is that partnership all the way. So you have to have equitable partnership that everybody can be able to see their role and pass it over to the next.
Right, I hear that. So Dr. Dina says we need partnerships, we need access to finance, and of course, young people have to be at the center of all this. Sifa, for you, let's talk solutions now. What do you think if there's someone watching tonight and they have the power to fix what they need to fix in their dockets? It's the policymakers, private sector players. What sort of solutions would you be, recommending tonight?
Yeah. First of all, I thank Rwanda because at some point they are helping farmers, as farmers, to thrive. But we need people who can invest more in agriculture, then who can invest more in capacity building first.
Training.
Yes, because as I said, those subsistence farmers, because how many? Even though that technology is available, if they don't know how to embrace it, how to use it fully or efficiently, they will not make money out of it. So I need to tell all involved policymakers just to invest in first in technology, in access to finance, as she said, as young people, more as young people and women. Because more women are engaged into agriculture than men, and also for those people to make technology easy and affordable for us. Maybe as in Rwanda we have what we call smart ngunganire, where we are subsidized on seeds. So they can make it subsidized on technology, everything, equipment and inputs that can help farmers to thrive. They can make it subsidized, and I know they can.
You know it's possible.
Yeah, it's possible, very possible.
Yeah.
If more people invest in it, as she said, and then they make it more easily accessible for us farmers, we can make Rwanda a breadbasket of the region and Africa the breadbasket of the world. But we are able, and we are willing to, but we still have the limits. And if those limits are removed, as youth, as I'm talking on behalf of youth, I know we can make this Rwanda a breadbasket of the region. So, dear partners, please, if you can hear me, make this technology accessible and affordable to farmers. Make sure that youth they know that this technology is available. They get trainings. They get to learn how to embrace it. Then they will come and practice it in rural area. They will make sure that their parents understand what they can do, their capacity, and then we will make our land thrive and our farms will make profits. Thank you.
Farms will make profits. I like that. Dr. Tamara, I'm sure the teams have fixed it, and I'm hoping that it's going to be working well. I want us to talk a bit about especially what we're just hearing now, as we also look towards the solutions. A sector that is employing over 2/3 of the African labor force, serving in as a main source of their income. We're talking about a sector that is contributing so much to the GDPs of our countries within the continent, but then only less than 5% of the net bank funding in most of these nations across Africa is allocated to this particular sector. I think even if you made those submissions 5 years ago, I think maybe they fell on deaf ears, because if we're still seeing less than 5% of the total financing that goes from financing institutions going to agribusiness, then we are lying to this sector that we really evaluate, no? Check mute, unmute your mic.
We need to just check ourselves, and like I said, the participation of us, the young people, is what is going to change the face of agriculture. But also we are just meeting a lot of, these, haters that, you want to go in. But what I can advise is that the financial institutions, we also need to take a deliberate move to make Africa custom-made financial literacy. Because the education that someone in the Netherlands is going to get, that financial literacy they're going to get, should be different from the one that I'm having here in Africa, because the people in the rural areas, their education level is very different. So even as we approach, we need to make local, custom-made financial literacy, local customs, technology. How do we teach them? Because most of the time we meet a lot of resistance when it comes to technology, because people are scared of technology, or maybe to take their jobs, or maybe it's, there's a lot of myths in Africa that comes with a lot of things. Yeah, so, and most people who own land, it's traditional land, it's not titled land, so it's not bankable. Here in Zambia, we have, a company from, Germany that has come in, trying to empower people with title deed, because if you have a title deed, you're able to go to the bank and bank it. But at the same time, it's very difficult for young people to access that land. So we want, the policies that are going to support one. You should own land. When you own land, before you borrow the money, or before you are given that money, you should be educated on how well to use that money. And if you're going to go into agriculture, you should be at least educated in the sector that you're going in. So that, for me, that would be my, because also money just given without someone knowing how to use it becomes, difficult. Because if you're going to give me $1 million now and say go and invest in agriculture, I'm going to buy a Maybach, because I don't see the importance of, investing in agriculture. But if I see that, the importance of me investing in agriculture and wanting to feed my people and wanting to eradicate poverty, it also comes with patriotism of wanting to, to feed your own people. So if we are, talk to our young people to say we are the only ones who can actually pull Africa out of poverty, then we have people that will work day in and night to just, work and just make sure that people are fed and the excess is actually exported. Because we can't have people that are old age to produce food, it won't be enough. So for me, what I can just say is that we need, one, financing is, yes, that's very good. We need financial literacy. We also need the, the education. Of course, the incoming of technology is going to help. And also the technology, like the others have said, like Sangwa said, it has to be affordable to even a layman's person, to access it. Otherwise, we'll be losing our young people going to Europe to look for greener pastures. Meanwhile, they're living the gold mine, the land that is fertile with very good weather conditions that can actually, Africa can actually become, a world food basket, like Sangwa said. So, and unless we make these deliberate policies, to just empower young people, educate them, we won't go anywhere.
Right. But Dr. Tamara, if these technological interventions are also not homegrown, then again, how do we tailor-make their solutions to fit the continent's needs? Because even when you're talking about AI today, most of the AI solutions are actually not from, a localized perspective. Today you ask, for example, ChatGPT to give you an image of an African, you'll always find them bringing you someone with dreadlocks because that is what whoever made it from out there gave it that perception that an African has dreadlocks in that particular sense. Let's talk a bit about the localization of these technological solutions. What would be needed to actually drive this point home, that Africans need to be able to also be at the forefront of the creation of these technological solutions to suit the local homegrown needs that we have within our own context?
So we need research centers. That's number one. We don't have research centers. Everything that is done, it's done outside Africa. But if we could have deliberate move where we say, okay, this is SADC, this is, ECOWAS, this is, the AU Tech deliberate moves. We're going to have research centers which are going to have young people develop these apps. It's not like they're not there. They are there, but research is rarely funded in Africa. African governments don't fund research. They think it's a waste of time. But if you look at developed countries, they are developed because they've invested in research. So for me, I think the first step is also to invest in research so that young people are able to research and develop these technologies that are made, African-made, custom-made, for homegrown. Because it's easier for people to relate to something that is homegrown than something that, just comes from somewhere else. Of course, we have to integrate. It's a global village, but we need homegrown solutions. Because if I'm a farmer in Zambia, when I go to Uganda, it's relatable. You understand? I'm going to see how Ugandans are doing it, and I'm going to bring it back home. It's going to be relatable. But when I travel to, to the Netherlands, I go there. It becomes, yes, it's a good thing, but it's a bit foreign. And when I want to come and implement it here, it becomes very difficult. But if I go to Kenya, I see what they're doing there, I can easily come and implement it because my people, myself, are going to relate it. Someone comes to Zambia, they learn something. Like right now, I have a friend who's been, Sierra Leone, because they connected, have different people, want to learn from this, and then they want to learn how to, keep, pigs. And I've connected them to someone in Zambia, and they're teaching them how to keep the pigs from start. Like they're just taking them through the lessons, and they're relating because the problems that are in Sierra Leone and the ones that are in Zambia are similar. So we need research sectors. We need homegrown solutions, and like us wanting to import. Yes, we will import. That is very good, but for starters, we need to invest in finding solution on the ground, and those solutions need money. Like the doctor said there, we need money. This CDF that millions are given every year, and we don't see where they go. We could invest those, monies into research centers so that we can have the solutions, so that everybody can grow food, because everyone is eating.
Everyone is eating, and after the year, we're going to be eating as well. And thank you, Dr. Tamara, very powerful. Dr. Dina, on that aspect of research, the need to actually build research centers on the continent, even from our own, country level. Let's talk a bit about that as we come closer towards the end of this particular program. What will be needed? What would be, is there a silver bullet in understanding the need for research centers that are going to develop homegrown solutions, tech solutions that we're looking for?
Thank you very much. I first of all want to start that we have a lot of Sifa and Tamara in Africa.
Yes.
You know, the population in Africa.
Yeah.
And the brains are here. Yeah. The knowledge is here. It's just upon us, you know, the policy makers or the other influential people to tap into these skills and knowledge that that we have in our youth. Yes. And I think, as Tamara say, it's painful sometimes when you see the young people finished university, maybe even have done the first class and all that, and they're leaving to go outside to go because it's more greener pastures. Sometimes I feel like it's high time for people out there, Africa, to come and build the Africa. And so, yes, it's very true. A number of countries don't really prioritize research, particularly research for agriculture. And so it's one call that I would say that we need to really focus on research for agriculture. We do have, like where I come from, where I work for, is an international. So we look at international, other global. But then when we come here, we need to find also other structures. Yeah. We need to find the NAS, the National Agricultural System, really efficient, really working, really access to those technologies, and they can do so much so that the international research centers or the others up there can be able to work together. So it is very important to focus on research. It's very important to invest in research. And research, there will always be a gap. There will always be a research gap. Even there is no more time that we'll say, we've done a lot of research, you know, let's now move to something else.
It can never be enough.
It can never be enough.
Right.
And it can never be enough. Remembering population is increasing, climate crisis is here with us, so many things are coming. We always have to address, and therefore there's need to look at the research. Right. So I would say I agree with Tamara that we need to invest, but we need more so to tap into our own youth that have the knowledge, the Sivas and the Tamaras right here in Africa. So what we need is to network. What we need is to work together. What we need is to have one voice for Africa, that Africa we can, that Africa we can produce, and for sure we can. When you look at some of those European countries, they're very small. But actually they produce more, and they export. I was so surprised the other day. I was in World Potato Congress somewhere in Australia. Yes. And a small country in Africa was in Europe was among the leading exporters of potato. And I think Rwanda even produce more, it could produce much, much more. So if we could just increase productivity, I'm telling you, if you double our productivity, we can do so much. That country that I'm referring to could be as small as Rwanda and may not have the weather that we have it in Rwanda. Correct. So let's remember, as African, we have so much. We are so blessed. Let's just be together, work together, explore the knowledge that we have. Right,
right. Sifa, in closing now, I mean, because I'm being told now it's almost done. I always say it's the shortest 1 hour ever. How do we ensure then that, we are not just speaking of wishful thinking, but we are now able to walk the talk, that these numbers that we hear about, the statistics that are being released by these institutions, we are not just sitting back at a corner and saying, that's our problem and we are used to these problems. How do we now move to action? When we talk about the need for research, when do we now start seeing that, investment in research centers? When young people are saying we want affordable financing, how do we then make sure that those in charge, those responsible, are actually walking the talk when it comes to these particular issues? Maybe it's a loaded question, but I just want to read your thoughts in closing. What do you think? How do we now move from where we are now to now getting to where we are wishing to be and achieving what we want to get?
I'm going to talk in perspective of the digital platforms.
Yes.
So now we have seen that digital platforms has a huge role in changing, like everything. If it's posted somewhere, someone might see it and change at some point. Yeah. So I would call more agricultural influencers or more influential people. Not just talk. You go to the office, to the office of those people in charge. Yeah. Show them what you're capable of. Yeah. if I have innovation, let's talk about breakfast of fries.
Yeah.
Then I know that this is alternative food for human and livestock, and it will minimize the competition between us. And then go and knock that door.
Yeah.
And
But
say,
don't wait for the opportunities to come.
yes,
Go look for them.
Go and knock on that door and say, hey, I have this initiative, I have this idea, and I think it can change.
Yeah.
Please give me the chance. Yeah. And if you knock on one door and it's not opening, open to other door. And share it. Maybe if you see like there is no one helping you, just share it on your social media platforms or digital platforms and say, hey, we need, I need a fund, or I need a loan. I will pay back after. And then you just not go there empty-handed. You just say, hey, I need money to invest in something.
Yeah.
Which thing?
You've got to have something.
Yeah, you've got to have something.
Wonderful.
So, yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I'm being rushed, you know. We need to go. Dr. Tamara, I want to read your thoughts also. I mean, from where you said, where do we go from here now? You know, so that now the next time we are having this conversation, you know, we'd have scenarios where the challenge of finance is sorted, research centers are there. I hope you're there, because I see the frame is frozen. Dr. Tamara, can you hear me? Okay. Okay. Dr. Dina, maybe I'll give you a chance to also give us your closing remarks.
I think what I would say is let's embrace science, let's embrace innovation.
Yeah.
Let the young people, as Sifa said, ask, knock the doors. Knock the doors of the International Research Institution. Knock the doors of the National Research Institution. And you can knock through the social media. Just ask, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And we will be able to say, this is what we are doing. My call is also to have more women in science, because, particularly in agriculture, because more women are involved in agriculture.
Correct.
And so when we are coming up with technology, we have in mind these women, but also we think about the youth. What is it that we can give to the youth? I think maybe I'll just conclude by saying, let's talk more at the Agri Show. We will be there to show the technologies that International Potato Center and other research institutions have developed.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Let me just quickly read this. I wish we could have Tamara just to come to also give us our closing thoughts. But I have Kevin Odobo on the X platform says, transformation of the food system requires a brave, multi-pronged, collaborative approach. And of course, at the primary production level, there is, he says, at the primary level, there is poor access to quality, affordable inputs, extension services, suitable markets, and poor access to good markets. But these issues can't be solved in isolation. He says we should approach it from a food system outlook, where the whole food system is integrated from farm to fork, to remove or reduce inefficiencies and risks, improve transparency of data availability to all users, and introduce an element of predictability across the board. This is very powerful, Kevin. Thank you for that. Of course, he comes back to say the issue of access to technology for agriculture is a challenge, because most people are talking about the challenges of access, literacy, and affordability. But I think more importantly, that anything else, is the real value that these solutions bring. So we need to see those solutions from a broader perspective. And of course, he says the smartphone revolution and the mobile money M-Pesa revolution in Africa was faster than for the rest of the world, because of the immense value it has brought. And so we want to thank you very much for this particular feedback. So thank you very much. I'm sure that there's more, but because of time, I'm not able to read that. I have Crispin Chivale, who's on YouTube, who says, interesting discussion. I agree with the presenter that mentioned that lack of access is one of the contributing factors for young people being involved in agriculture. He says, I think another contribution factor is lack of exposure to the technology in agriculture. It is a far-fetched for a young person in rural areas like Chunga in Chinsali district of Zambia. Thank you very much for this feedback. We must continue talking about our beautiful continent. We must keep talking from a solutions-focused perspective. This conversation ends in these four walls, but it has to continue on other platforms, and we'll be able to check you out on our social platforms, the X platform. The hashtag to use always is the Summit RW. On behalf of our panelists, I want to say thank you for making time. As always, my name is Eugene Anangwe. Goodbye for now. I told you.
abantu bakubwira ko hari ibyo udashoboye nagira ngo mubwire ko byose birashoboka iyo wumvise kakajwi kakubwira kati irekure halo metarine ya baba inka zarembye pe hari abakeka ko kuba bari kure bizinesi zihagarara irahebeba urifuza kuruhuka uguwe neza hamwe n'abawe ngo bagutera isoni ahubwo gahunda zawe ufite uyu munsi ni izihe irekure na bando zose za MTN kuri 4G kanda subscribe duhurire online
L is for the way you look at me. O is for the only one I see. V is very, very extraordinary. E is even more than anyone that you adore can love. Is all that I can give.
RBA app is here. How'd you get it? It is easier than ever. Go on your home screen. Press Play Store or App Store. Type RBA. Search.